Hey guys, welcome back. Today we are going to be working out on our deck today. It has been raining all day, and it's actually very lovely because it's just that gentle rain. I don't know if you guys can hear it. You might be able to just hear the cars in the background, but it's been very gentle. It is warm out today, which is kind of odd, but the last couple of days I've been spending some time tagging our dahlias because we did have some low temps coming up, but now it's switched. But either way, I needed to tag them while I still had some blooms on each plant just to make sure I'm getting the right one. So I got that done the last couple of days, and I was noticing the other day how neglected my houseplants have been. Raise your hand if you neglect your houseplants during the summertime. I sure do. I completely forget about them, and I could just like imagine their little voices like, "Water me, hello, I'm still here. Do you remember me?" So there were a couple that I was like, "Ooh, we gotta get you guys potted up, cleaned up, and taken care of." And then there are a few other ones that I picked up, and a new one from Proven Winners. At least it's new to me, and it's a variegated Monstera, and I cannot wait to show you because I have been wanting one of these for so long, but they're so expensive. But you know, Proven Winners came through and they created, I don't know if they created this one. I don't know too much about it quite yet, but I'm going to show you. I don't know if they created it or how it came about, but anyways, I'm super excited about that. So let me show you the plants that we're going to be working with today. I also found some neglected Amaryllis bulbs that were in my shed. Completely forgot about them. So we might pot those up or repot them, get them cleaned up and repot them. And then if the rain does happen to stop, I would love to pop outside really quick and just plant our green urns with some red pansies that I picked up. So anyways, let's start out with the houseplant and then we will see what we can get through today. Our first new addition to our home is this gorgeous Monstera. This one is from Proven Winners and it's called Monstera Spotsylvania. And Thai Constellation Monsteras are beautiful variegated varieties of Monstera Deliciosa. They're loved for their creamy white and green, look at that, marbled leaves. While they're not too difficult to grow, they do require a bit of extra attention to maintain their unique variegation and health. So we'll talk about that in a minute, and also the soil requirements that these like. Now, the funny thing is, anytime we go to Home Depot, I always browse their houseplant section because once in a while, you'll walk through their Monsteras and there'll be one in there that's variegated. And I don't know if people just don't pay attention, but if you don't know, the variegated varieties are rare. They are expensive, especially when you go to like boutique houseplant stores. They tend to be very spendy, but not this one. This one was only $45, which yes, I know that is still, you know, a little bit more than I think, you know, smaller houseplants. But the thing is I haven't found one that price ever in my life, not this variety anyway. So when I saw this, I was like, yep, we're bringing it home. And I'm just so excited that Proven Winners did this. I need to get on their website and learn more about this specific variety. I don't know if this is one that they cultivated or how it came about. Maybe you guys know more about this specific variety from them, but I am just so thankful that they came through for their customers and made it accessible to the masses. And that is super, super exciting. There's been such a hysteria with these for so long, but now it's like, I just want to go back and pick up several more. Now this one is probably going to go in our primary bath just because we like to have a couple of plants in there. So this is a snake plant. They're also known as a mother-in-law tongue. I'm not sure why. And they're amongst, like, again, one of the easiest houseplants to care for. They're known for their upright sword-like leaves, and they tolerate a wide range of conditions. So that's one of the reasons why I love them. These are one of those plants that if you neglect them and you forget about them, they're going to be fine. Next is this ZZ plant here, which is such a beautiful plant in my opinion, and they're hardy, low maintenance houseplants known for their thick, glossy green leaves. And they also have a high tolerance for low light conditions. So if you're somebody that doesn't have a ton of light in your home, this is definitely something I would consider. These grow so beautifully, and the bigger they get, just the prettier they get because they get very thick. Like they're stems here get very thick and just gorgeous. And one thing I always say about these is they're ideal for those who may not have a green thumb, as they thrive with minimal care. So if you're brand new to houseplants, I promise you, you're gonna have a very hard time killing this because they don't really require a ton of care, in my opinion. Next, we have the Swiss cheese plant, which, my gosh, they're so cool. This one is climbing along this little piece of wood. I have been neglecting this one. I need to just come in and clean it up. I don't know if I want to up pot it quite yet, but I do just want to come in and clean it up, you know, just get some of this dust off of its leaves. But they're just so unique in their leaf pattern and the way that they grow. Again, not too finicky in my opinion. I also have this ruby, I think it's a ruby. Yeah. It's a ficus decora ruby, also known as a rubber plant. This poor thing has just been through it. Look at it. I mean, she just needs a lot of love and care. So I'm going to clean her up and pot her up. And I just, again, love the variegation. I love variegated houseplants. I just think they add so much dimension to a lot of spaces. And then finally, I have this cute little jade. This is a Cosby jade. And one of my favorite jades, probably just because they have a little bit of an outline with red. Do you see how just like the leaves have that little red in them? So let's go ahead and start. We do have a couple of different soils that we're going to be using today, and then we'll just talk through some of the care and light requirements that these require. So let's start out with this Monstera here. Let me just pop it out of this little basket. And when you're potting up any of your house plants, whether it's something that you've already had and you want to pot up, or if it's something new and you just want to take it out of the container, sometimes I will just pot it into a same size container. If I'm going to pot it up because it looks stressed or it looks tight in that pot, you don't want to bump it up more than 1 to 2 inches. If you go any bigger than that, what will happen is you can start having root rot because those roots are still going to be very small, and now you've just introduced it into a bigger container with so much soil, so it's going to retain a lot of that water. So that is just something to keep in mind when you're repotting. And I don't have a tray here with me, but we're going to improvise and use this cardboard. And then I might need to pop over to the shed and just get a couple more containers. But first I just want to see how the roots of these are. Ooh, very nice. Look at that. Wow, wow, wow. Very, very gorgeous roots. And I'm just going to tease them just a little bit. Now, of course, whenever you do something like this, it does cause a little bit of stress to the roots, but it's okay because they're going to bounce back. And I don't love the soil that it's in. Monstera is usually like something that is really well drained. So I like to mix in an orchid mix with a little bit of potting soil, or you can do the same thing with like a cactus mix. Just because they don't want their roots sogging all the time, and this just feels like it's not, like this does not feel well drained, like it's going to be well draining at all. So I've been waiting such a long time for this. I am not going to risk losing it because of poor soil. No way. So we're just going to remove all of that. And I know this is a little bit shocking, and obviously you don't have to do this to all of your plants, but I just want to make sure that we give it some nice, good soil. And I'm just going to do a little bit of root pruning. And again, this will definitely shock the plant a bit, but it's going to be just fine. It's going to bounce back. Now for this one, I was thinking this container, and I'm wondering if this might be too big. Let's see, let's assess. Oh no, I think this will be fine. Yeah. What do you guys think? I like that. I like the white. And so now I'm just gonna mix, actually let me get rid of this. And then I'm gonna mix some potting mix with a little bit of orchid mix. Okay, for the orchid mix, I'm gonna use this one from Espoma. This is the one that I have used for all of our Monsteras. We have a couple of other ones that are really large, that are inside, and they seem to do really well. However, when you buy this, it's very barky. So like you do want to mix it with some potting soil. I'm gonna put just a thin layer on the bottom. And then we'll come in with potting soil. But you see, that's kind of the consistency that you want. It's still very chunky, but it still has more of that potting mix, so it does need some sort of soil for these to do well. Let's just see. I want to go like right here. So we have a ways to go. One thing I wanted to mention is when you are planting any of your house plants or anything really, you want to make sure that you just tamper it down really well as you go, so you don't have any air pockets that will cause any root rot when you're watering. So just make sure to just really tamper it down nicely. And I always just leave a little bit of room on the edges here, or I don't come up too high, because sometimes I'll come in with a little bit of moss and just decorate it, or rocks. Little broken leaf there. But now this one looks really good. Look at that. Oh, isn't that pretty? I cannot wait to have this in our bathroom. I cannot tell you how long I've waited to get one of these. And now that we finally have one, I'm so excited for it. What do we think? I love it. One other thing that I wanted to mention is you want to make sure that you have good drainage in whatever container that you select for your plants. This one has a really nice drainage hole at the bottom. Because this is not a porous container, it's not going to dry out as quickly as, say, something like a terracotta, because this one is glazed over. Regardless of that, I will check the water moisture just by like putting my finger inside this hole and seeing how wet or how dry it is. I don't really have a watering schedule. With my houseplants, I just kind of pick them up and I look at it and I see if they need it or not. And when I do water them, I make sure I like completely drench them, you know, whenever they need it. So say it's like once a week or once every other week, depending on the plant and the water requirements. So that is something to keep in mind when you're watering. It's better to do it like a drench and less frequently than doing a little bit every couple of days, because that is not something that most houseplants will tolerate. So keep in mind good drainage on your container. If you do a terracotta pot, which I love, they tend to dry out a little bit more, but those are also nice because they allow a lot more oxygen in and out. But just keep an eye out on that if you go with a terracotta, that they might dry out a little bit quicker than something like this that's glazed. So now let's move on to our snake plant. All right, for our snake plant, I'm going to use this container. It comes with a saucer. I do need to come back and get a saucer for that one. I like it just because it goes really well together like this. I love that look. And I think I got this at IKEA. So good place for containers. Let's see, this one I am going to use potting mix. This one doesn't require, wow, look at all of that new growth. Look at that. Now with snake plants, you want to use a cactus mix, because they also require a well-drained soil. This one has a cactus mix already, so I'm not going to tease these roots out too much. As you can see, it's pretty dry, poor thing. I got to give it a good watering. I just want to make sure, go around and see how it looks. I love this plant so much. This one is one of the ones that can take low light, which is great. I actually worked in a dental office and we used to have snake plants all over because the dentist I worked with just, you know, believed how they clarified they purified the air. And I think there was even a study done by NASA on these, if I'm not mistaken. But the great thing about it was we didn't have any lights in this office that I worked in, or no, I'm sorry, not lights, but windows, like windows where we had them, and they thrived, which was so wild because there was really no light. I mean, they had the hallway light and that was it, but they grew so beautifully, which is just shocking to me. And again, just shows you how hardy these are. So if you don't have a lot of light, then think about a snake plant. And these are actually super easy to divide. I know some of the bigger ones can be like kind of spendy actually. This one was, I don't think this was too expensive. This was only $25, which is not bad. But some of the bigger ones were so expensive. And because this one looked like it already had a ton of new growth, maybe like in a year or two, you want to wait a couple of years, I will come in and divide them up. So they're super easy to divide. And oh, they're just so, so pretty. All right, plant number 2 is done. Now let's go for our little Jade over here. And this poor thing, gosh, it is just so tight. I'm going to try to break up some of the soil a little bit. And I'm also going to use cactus mix for this one. All right, and this one I'm going to go directly into this container as well. So not too much bigger. You can see how it's probably, oh, I don't know, maybe an inch or 2 bigger than the container that it was originally in. So let's just set her down in here actually. I just love this Jade so much because of its branching habit that it has. And I do notice that when it gets more bright light, the little leaves tend to turn a little bit more reddish. And it just looks like a little forest to me. These are pretty, as far as like succulents and maintenance goes, these are, I think, pretty easy. If you really want to start getting into like succulents, I think this is a good one to start out with. It's not very finicky. And I'll be honest, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I have gone weeks without watering this guy, and it's so resilient. So resilient. And I feel bad. I don't want to admit that I've been a terrible houseplant mom, but I really have. Like, I'm going to be honest with you. I walk right by them and I'm just like, I'll get to you, I promise. But the dahlias need me. So I feel like they're just so neglected. But I definitely want to get better. I want to get better with houseplants. I think my family is really into houseplants, especially my mom and my grandma in Brazil. They're like such wizards with houseplants and propagating them that I need to just take notes from them. Especially since my mom has moved here, she's always getting on my case about not having enough houseplants. And I told her, like, I used to have a ton, but I gave a ton of them away because I just couldn't take care of them during the construction. All right, so that will go there. Look at how cute that is. And this is also a perfect gift. Like if you're looking for a gift for somebody, and I'm gonna get mud on my face right now or dirt on my face, I don't care. I think giving plants is the next best thing after giving flowers. So if you're struggling to give or get somebody a gift, then I think a house plant is always a good idea, especially as a housewarming gift. And then let's do this easy. But for the ZZ, we're gonna need to go to the shed because I don't have a container for it. And let me just check out the roots. Oh, very tight. And these are supposed to bring abundance, I think. That's like, I read that somewhere, I think. I might be wrong. Let me know if you guys have heard that. All right, good soil. These can take straight potting soil. And it has a lot of pumice in here, I can see. The roots look good and healthy. Look at that. I like it. And they almost have like the roots, and I don't know the technical name for this, maybe you guys know, but towards the top, they have like these bulbous structures. Do you see? Maybe it's hard to see through the video, but just like those bulbous structures as part of their roots. Okay, let's go and see what we can find. All right, I think we are going to go, let's see here. So I'm gonna do this one-handed. Maybe this guy. I like this one because it already has a little saucer attached to it. What do we think? Do we like that? Ooh. Oh gosh, I kind of want to bring these out for something too. Maybe pansies? Just to bring a little bit of color to the table. We'll revisit that later. But I think this one will be good. Get that cleaned up. Or some of the lower one. No, I think we'll go with this one. And we'll bring this for cleanup as well. All right, there we go. All right, like I mentioned, ZZ plants are also just so easy to take care of. I'm gonna add just a little bit of that cactus mix in there for a little bit more drainage, and then we'll come in with just potting mix. And as far as fertilizing goes with all of our plants, I only fertilize once a month during the growing season. So usually between springtime and summertime, I'm not gonna fertilize any of these. I might the Monstera because I really kind of went to town on the roots. So I might give it a little bit of houseplant food. And I keep it basic. I really don't get too crazy with the houseplant food. I will use, Espoma has a liquid houseplant food that I like to use. So I will do that. But again, during the winter time, I really don't do a whole lot. Just make sure that they have the light requirements that they need. And during the springtime is when I'll start giving them a regular dose of fertilizer. Gosh, these are so cute. I love that one so much. I love this container, actually. I used to be really into like the glazed, like the blacks and the whites, but now I'm really into like more like terracotta, aged terracotta. I think that looks so, so pretty. All right, I do have more containers for this one, but I just realized I don't have any more orchid mix. So what I'm gonna do is just clean it up. I want to start getting this one to start branching out because it's getting kind of tall and leggy, and that's not what I want. So I'm gonna just go ahead and prune it here. And you can take these and just propagate them. These are so easy to propagate. So I might do that. But I also read somewhere, and I'm not gonna do it today because I wanna confirm, but maybe you guys have experience with this, but you can come in with a blade and kind of cut these little slits by each of the new leaf nodes, and that should trigger it to wanna start branching over there. I don't know how true or fake that is. I wanna do more reading and research before I do that. So I'm going to wait off on this one until I can do that. And in the meantime, I just wanted to make sure I cleaned it up, and I'll just make sure to come in and dust it and just plop it back into a decorative container until we decide what we want to do. We'll pop her off to the side, And then we'll come in and plant up our rubber plant, which is just so sad. So I do want to come in and just kind of clean this one off a bit. And we'll use a little bit of cactus and potting mix for this one. All right, that is much better. Hopefully she will be much happier in this container. Now let me just clean this off and we will look at our Amaryllis bulbs. All right, here is our Amaryllis pie. Look at this. This is so wild. These are from last year and I had them on our deck for the longest time, and then I plopped them into the shed. I stopped watering them and plopped them into the shed. And you can see that they've done quite well. And the reason why I had them in the shed is so that all of the leaves can just die back and put that energy back into the bulb. And so it's done that, but now it's time to start waking them back up, because Amaryllises usually take 6 to 12 weeks to bloom from the time when they're planted. So that kind of puts us right at the right time to get these going if we want to see them blooming by Christmas time. And you don't have to clean them off. However, I am going to, because they got wet because I left this container outside, not even thinking twice that it was going to rain. And they got very, very wet. And typically you don't want the bulb body to get all wet because that can cause rot. So I'm just gonna clean them up a bit and they'll be just fine. I've done several videos on Amaryllis if you wanna dive into taking care of them, how I like to use them in containers or by themselves. But you know what? Why not get into the Christmas spirit early on this year? Might as well. I'm just gonna clean up their roots a bit here and make sure there's no rot. And then I'm just gonna peel back some of these super wet layers. And again, you don't have to do this. I'm just doing it because they're wet and they're gross, and I just want to get them tidied up. Now, because Amaryllis can take cooler temperatures, I'm actually tempted to leave this one, this arrangement out here and see how it does. It is in a covered area, and then if we have any frost or like super cold temps, I can always bring it in for the night. But I think I'm gonna experiment and leave them out and see how they do. I'm thinking if we can fit in a couple of pansies in here, that would be really cute. But this container won't allow it. So now do we shift and get a bigger container? Because I think that would actually be really fun. Yeah, let's do it. Let me go grab another bowl, a bigger one. All right, let's go with this one, which is bigger than this bronzy one. That looks good. Now with the Amaryllis, I'm just going to really set them on top of the soil and just push them down so they're a little bit snug. I really keep it shallow to make sure nothing rots. So very, very shallow. And again, I have detailed videos on planting Amaryllis, whether you're doing it in rocks or in soil. And I always like to just make these grand arrangements with them just because they're very like holiday, especially for giving them as a gift, a holiday gift. I think putting together an arrangement like this as a hostess gift is perfect. Perfect, perfect. I'm gonna water this in and then we'll come in with a little bit of decor. I think it was last year or the year before. I got these little red birds. Just look at how cute they are. So sweet. All right, I think we'll leave it at that. If we need to come back and edit, we can, but I don't want to go too crazy because again, I just wanted to keep it kind of natural looking. The little red adds a little bit of color until we wait for the Amaryllis to bloom. And I don't know, I really like the way that this turned out. All right, guys, well, I think that will do it for today's video. It just started to rain, like right on cue. So we'll leave the green urns for another day and we'll get those pansies planted up another time together. But at least I'm happy I got to do this. I feel so bad for some of these plants. I would literally just like walk by and I'm like, hi, don't die, I'm coming for you. Don't worry, I haven't forgotten about you. I'm back, it's okay, I'm gonna take care of you now. So I think they're gonna be much happier in their space. I am so excited. You guys have no idea. I am so excited about this Monstera. This is gonna go in our primary bath. I have a little black stool. In fact, I'll show you where I'm gonna put it. And I think it's just going to look really beautiful in that space. This one loves bright indirect light. So that is exactly what that area is going to get. It's going to get a lot of morning sun. And now because that tree is gone on the side, there's going to be a lot more sunlight in that side of the house, which makes me really happy. These other 4 plants will probably go in our studio, which you guys have seen. I've done videos in there before. And those will go right against probably the front window. So they'll get quite a bit of light. Again, they can stand a little bit of indirect light, and they don't need quite as much light as some of our other plants. So I can be a little bit more flexible with them where I put them. But either way, I'm just excited to start enjoying more green in our home, just because when we started the construction again, we just got rid of so many things. Now I'm just like, okay, I really want to brighten up our space, especially when our dining room is done, our kitchen is done, our living room is done. I just want to start bringing more green life into them. And then of course, our Amaryllis arrangement, I am super excited to see how this does out here. Again, we use our deck every single day. We grill pretty much every day. And it'll be nice to just have a little bit of color here on the table to enjoy that now that things are starting to die back in the garden. So anyways, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today in my garden, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye. All right, well, that is where the new Monstera is going to live, right across our other one. How pretty is that?